All right, let's get into elicitation. Like, what is that? This is the art of fishing for more information. So elicitation is kind of a subtle psychological method for getting information from people without them realizing it. You know, in sales, negotiation, influence, any aspect of business, the more information you have, the more successful you're going to be. The more information you have, the easier it is to close people. Discovery, testing the waters, whatever you need to do, we're fishing for more information. We're doing elicitation because people aren't always open to provide the information, especially in negotiation. They think if they reveal something, you're going to know something about them and take advantage of them. And that's not the point. In sales and persuasion, the more information you have, the more you can fill their needs, the easier it is for you to solve their problem. Let's elicitate.
Maximize your influence. Kurt Mortensen is the author of Persuasion IQ, Laws of Charisma, and the best-selling book, Maximum Influence.
Good to have you here. Podcast 566, Kurt Mortensen, elicitation. Word of the day, if you haven't heard of it before. You see, it's all about having more tools in your influence toolbox. Don't use the same 3 or 4 over and over again. Even if you only use a tool once a year and it seals that deal, closes that negotiation. So let's kick it off this time with listener email.
Oh boy!
This is Tad from New Jersey in the United States. Says, Kurt, love the podcast. It's making a difference. It's increasing my persuasion IQ. Says, last week you talked about the biggest blunder for salespeople. Can you tell me what the greatest skill, trait, or ninja is for salespeople? Thanks, and persuading with power. All right, thanks, Dad. You get the gold version at influenceuniversity.com. If you go to maximizeyourinfluence.com, you can take your free persuasion IQ assessment. I've given over 20,000 of these. It helps me with my research. It helps you. You get a free bonus. Also on the website, you can find all the links, all the advanced training, and more information on influenceuniversity.com. Let's talk about it. In fact, we'll call it our Persuasion Ninja of the Week. So when you look at the decades of research across sales psychology, when you look at high performance leaders, negotiators, the number one trait most consistently associated with top performing salespeople, influencers, negotiators, leaders across the board is EQ, known as emotional intelligence. It was originally created by Peter Salovey and John Mayer, but it was popularized by Daniel Goleman from Harvard. And they all agree that EQ, emotional intelligence, is much more important with your success in life than IQ, your intelligence. So your emotional intelligence, more important than your intelligence for success in life. So what is your EQ? Well, it's your empathy, understanding the buyer's emotions, pain points, unspoken concerns. You can read their emotions, understand their emotions, deal with their emotions. But what a lot of people don't realize with EQ, it's your own self-awareness. Recognizing your own emotions and how they affect you, your communication, and how you deal with others. So it's not only dealing with other people's emotions, it's dealing with your own emotions. This also includes social skills like building rapport, reading the room, adapting to different personalities, persuading people how they want to be persuaded, knowing when they're indifferent, knowing when they're ready to be closed is social skills. And then self-regulation, staying calm under pressure, handling rejection, dealing with other people's anger, dealing with your own anger without losing any momentum. So any type of persuasion or sales, buyers are looking for that rapport, that trust. And that big one we talked about is the blunder last week that the salesperson, the persuader, the leader gets them, and that all is about the EQ. Because when you look at persuasion and influence, it's all about the emotional side. Not just the logic and facts, you need to have that, but most persuasion, it has to feel right. It has to resonate on an emotional level. It's all something we can work on. It's not like, oh, check, arrived. It's a continual thing. We are not thinking creatures that feel. We are feeling creatures that think. We have to understand that feeling, that emotion in ourselves, deal with that, and with other people. So, Ted, that's the answer to your question. Work on your EQ. Go back to the archives. We've done podcasts on that. So they can make a big difference in the ability to persuade, motivate, influence, and even persuade yourself. Taking us to our geeky Scarly article. This is the Daniel Goleman article in the Harvard Business Review. Links are posted. He not only has articles about sales, but leadership to the importance of emotional intelligence. Again, emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage your emotions. So you're recognizing and influencing the emotions of those around you, but also of yourself. We know the ability to get in the right state, be in the right mood, to persuade, to influence is critical. In fact, he talks about Talent Smart that did some research. They also said EQ is the strongest predictor of performance in life. You're able to stay calm under pressure, resolve conflict effectively, and respond to coworkers with empathy. So how do you know if you have a lack of EQ, that emotional intelligence? Conflicts, misunderstandings, people getting upset, maybe even canceling you, could come from the inability to recognize and comprehend emotions. People getting angry fast, you getting angry fast. Maybe there's a difficulty managing your emotions or expressing your emotions. So he asked in the article, are your conversations strained? Do you repeatedly blame others when projects don't get planned? Are you prone to outbursts? These are all signs of lack of emotional intelligence. So how do you strengthen these emotional intelligence skills? Remember, there's self-awareness, your own emotions. Interesting thing about that, psychologist Tasha Urich says 95% of people think they're self-aware, but only 10 to 15% actually are. And to bring the best out in others, you have to bring the best out in yourself. Then, of course, self-management, managing your own emotions. So when you're more in tune with your emotional intelligence, you're just not automatic, but you can transition from reaction to response. Remember, there's social awareness, your ability to read a room, to work within an organization, to play that corporate game. And again, understanding, using, and cranking up your use of empathy. And the fourth one, relationship management, your ability to coach and mentor others and resolve conflict effectively. And with any relationship, showing respect. In fact, there's a survey by the Society for Human Resource Management that said 72% employees ranked respectful treatment of all employees the top factor in job satisfaction. So how do we strengthen these? Well, there's training. Taking courses, reading the books, listening to the podcasts, understanding more about yourself and others can strengthen your emotional intelligence skills. And then just pay attention, be more aware of your emotions. So when you have a strong emotional response, can you slow your reaction? Can you think about it? Can you change it? Can you manage it better in the future? Being more aware of your emotions, what they mean. Emotions are a trigger. Something's happening. You can't just bury it. You bury it, it's going to explode later. And remember, every time you feel an emotion, there's a physiological response. When someone's angry, blood's leaving the brain. They're going to your extremities, fight or flight. You're not thinking straight. Pay attention to your emotions. And then if you could practice active listening, get rid of the distractions, focus on them, practice your empathy, really try to understand, really try to get in their shoes, practice using your nonverbal cues, tilting your head, shaking your head up and down. Great eye contact can be very helpful for that connection, working on your EQ. Really caring, really trying to understand. And if you really want to get better, everyone's favorite, a 360 assessment. Get feedback from your colleagues, from your boss, from the people around you. You can take a self-assessment to figure out what are your gaps, what do you need to work on. Because I guarantee what you think you need to work on and what you really need to work on are always the same thing. That's why professional athletes need a coach. Because what they think they're doing right or wrong can be very different from what they're doing right or wrong. What they think they need to work on might be different than what a coach thinks they need to work on. So that is your geeky Scarly article of the day. Work on it, EQ. I haven't arrived, you haven't arrived. This is something we all need to work on. Again, an all-time low, work on those EQ skills. Which brings us to our content. Bottom line, elicitations uncovering that hidden information we need to persuade, influence, and sell. So elicitation's basically the process of extracting, obtaining information, fishing for information, extracting information, especially when they're not open. They don't want to reveal it, it's difficult to get, is when you need to use elicitation. So it's basically getting the tools to encourage someone to share their thoughts, their needs, their knowledge, their feelings, their pain, without directly asking that blunt question. Because blunt questions like, what's your problem? What keeps you up at night? Don't always work or might lead to incomplete or biased answers. So why does this elicitation work? Because it combines several psychological and communication principles. And when you do it the right way, it bypasses resistance. Because when you're that interrogating lawyer, that parent at midnight asking their teenager where they've been, and ask those direct questions, that can trigger defensiveness or that feeling of being interrogated, which causes people to shut down. And elicitation also taps into their subconscious knowledge, because some people might not even know their pain or know exactly what they need to do, and they're not consciously aware of the knowledge they have. So elicitation can help people access and express those underlying thoughts and assumptions. And it also builds trust and rapport, because you're listening, you're showing empathy, you're showing genuine interest. You're not being super direct, you're not pushing their buttons, you're not triggering that resistance, and it makes them feel more comfortable to share that sensitive or detailed information they weren't willing to give initially. And the great thing about elicitation, it creates a safe space. You're the consultant, you're showing curiosity, you're showing a willingness to understand. And that safe space, that environment, they're more open to express themselves without fear of judgment or misunderstanding. You're on their side. They're not afraid of being judged, condemned, or canceled. So as a persuader, an influencer, a leader, a salesperson, whatever you do, you can see the benefits here. It's going to help you gather more comprehensive information and really get into their problem, their pain, and how you can help and serve them. You're going to get better information, more quality information, more accurate information, which is going to help you with problem solving and finding that solution. And even better than that, you're going to have a better relationship, be more influential, and get increased buy-in. Because when people feel heard and understood, they're more likely to buy, to be influenced. And of course, our favorite, the ability to persuade themselves. So even though it might be a new word to you, elicitation is used everywhere. Law enforcement, intelligence gathering, and I've trained interrogators, and it's not what you think. They don't do that direct force waterboarding thing. It's all about the elicitation without using force. As a coach, sometimes it's hard to help clients discover their own answers. See, a great coach helps clients discover their own answers, clarify their own goals, overcome their own personal barriers, and not always telling them what to do. And that's true with therapy and counseling. Having patients understand what's going on, explore their thoughts and feelings, and opening up. And of course, as I mentioned, sales, negotiation, influence, leadership, you have to get to the root of the challenge, the problem, the situation as fast as possible without creating resistance. And that's our new friend, elicitation, the art of fishing for information. So what can we do here? What are some techniques, some tools to really get that information that you need without causing resistance? Well, first one, before the meeting, especially if it's someone you don't know, you're negotiating the first time, do a little web research about the company, their goals, their stance, their mission statement. Take a look at the person, take a look at their social media, their LinkedIn, whatever you need to do, get information. But Kurt, that's stalking. Yeah, probably, but everybody does it. I have a business associate that no matter who you are, he'll take a few minutes before the call, the meeting, to research you, find out what you've been doing, to see what you're posting. In fact, last time I talked to him, he says, Kurt, congratulations on your new book in Arabic, your new book in the Middle East. It was a post on social media. I was tagged in it. I didn't even know about it, but they did They understood, it makes the connection. The more information, the better. Do a little research. Hey, I've done training for CDC, DOJ, BLM. That was the Bureau of Land Management. And they did research on me, make sure they could bring me in. When you go to these places, they make sure they've done a really extensive background check. In fact, I did a training for TSA, and they did an extensive background check, and I was trying to figure out where I rated, am I on their list? They wouldn't tell me. I don't know if that's just their policy or if that's bad news. So that's the first thing. Then get ready for open-ended questions. Now, closed-ended is yes, no. Open-ended can't be answered with a yes, no. So I'd take a pad of paper, especially if you're face-to-face. And on the left, write all these great open-ended questions. What does the perfect solution look like to you? If a genie appeared and made everything perfect, what would that look like to you? And when you ask open-ended questions, it helps them articulate their thoughts, their needs, and their feeling, revealing the information that you need. It uncovers those underlying or maybe hidden motivations, priorities, and pain points. What challenges are you currently facing with your existing team? What's the main thing you liked about that product? What's the main thing that could be improved? What, how, why, tell me about, describe, could all help with those open-ended questions. Now, with that, on the flip side, I mentioned with emotional intelligence, on the right side of the paper, you're going to write down your thoughts, your ideas. You're going to be an active listener. You're going to have good eye contact and listen, because the way your brain works is when you have a thought, an idea, you want to interject, you want to get it out now, you're going to interrupt them, destroy the conversation, not get the information, hurt your trust and rapport. So when you have that thought, just write it down. You'll feel your brain go, whew. And you can really focus on the questions and being an active listener. Another one that's part of that is your silence. So when you deliberately pause before responding for a question, it shows them that you care, that you're thinking about it, that you're not just jumping to the same response that you give to everybody. But even more important than silence, most people are a little uncomfortable with silence, and they keep giving you more and more information. If you ever see great interviewers, they don't talk much. They're silent, and the person keeps talking and talking and talking, and that's what you want. They reveal the information you need. And so this encourages deeper thought. It reveals hidden objections, and you get more detailed explanations. So eye contact's important, slight head tilt, maybe a slight nod. Now, you're going to be a little uncomfortable with the silence. That's okay, but ask an open-ended question. Let them answer. Stay silent. And that urges them to jump in and tell you what you need to know. Now, when they're done responding, make sure you paraphrase. So what you're saying is, it helps confirm what they're saying, shows them that you're engaged, and they feel heard and understood. And many times, they're going to correct you and elaborate further. Because sometimes the first thing that comes out their mouth is not perfect. They might adjust it, they might change it, they might clarify it, they might expand on it. It sounds like you're saying. So what I'm hearing is, so help me understand this, make sure I've got this right. Your main concern is, paraphrasing is key to keep the elicitation going. Another great thing here is using hypotheticals or what-if questions. You present a hypothetical scenario to explore possibilities, concerns, without really committing to the real situation or final solution. So it works really well because it allows people, prospects, to consider future states in a low-pressure environment. And this really helps you uncover unspoken objections, helps them to start visualizing solutions. What if we were able to achieve a 30% cost reduction in the first 3 months? Would that impact your team? All right, let's put budget aside. What would your perfect solution look like to you? So you can things like, imagine if. Well, let's say for a moment. Now, if that were possible, how would that affect? Could be questions that you use. And if they ever look offended using your EQ, say, is that too much? Is that too deep? Or just start off, hey, if I ask anything that's offensive, you don't want to answer, let me know. I just want to understand where you're at so we can find out if we're a good fit together. So that's podcast 566, All the links to everything we talked about is available there. You can see it in your email. You go to maximizeyourinfluence.com, click on that podcast. Now, today's special is going to be influenceuniversity.com. You want to learn the advanced skills, get more tools. That's the home of the 52-week advanced program, the library, all my audios, all my videos, all my books, all in one spot. You can pick and choose. You can follow the system, whatever you need to do. It's usually a monthly membership. Now you can do a lifetime special, save 90%. Click on the link in your email or go to influenceuniversity.com/special. It is a game changer. Regardless, take something you've learned, fine-tune it, master it, add it to your toolbox, become a better salesperson, a better negotiator, a better leader, a better influencer, and go out and persuade with power.